Being a dad is hard. It's high stakes. It takes a toll on our self-worth, mental health, and can be lonely. But why would we ever want to do something so important in isolation? Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads, is quite simply two normal dads having conversations about, you guessed it, being a dad. The highs, the lows, and the learnings along the way. We are four dads. We want to remedy the deficiency we see in community for dads, and we want to ruthlessly encourage dads on their journey to build lasting legacy for the faces they love the most. All right, Kev, big buzzworthy words that we're going to tackle here, specifically as we think about being parents. So empathy, right, is traditionally like, okay, I see someone that's going through something, good or bad, and I can empathize with them. I feel it with them. I want to be in the trenches and I want to be a good friend, parent, whatever. And then compassion. Compassion to me is empathy, but then there's some action beyond it. When I hear compassion, though, initially as I think about that word, a lot of times my brain goes to like kindness, compassion, right? These are words that are together, and I think that's right, but I think sometimes we don't necessarily think about compassion as just not just the right thing, kindness, but like actually acting. And sometimes as parents, probably more often than not, compassion looks like feeling with your child, but also getting them on the right path. And that can mean some tough conversations. And I think that that is the challenge that I'm seeing a lot with kids and the parents is I want to empathize with my kid. Like their worst day is their worst day. Now it's my worst day and we got to figure this out. And they feel like this, I think they're taking action, but they're not necessarily taking action like for the betterment of the kid long term. It's like they're going to fix it.
So let me try to sum up what I think you're saying, because I just want to make sure you're saying that too many parents in a desire to be empathetic are feeling the depths of the emotions that their kids feel without an ability to regulate and then steer them in the right direction. It's like, if we could just maybe go back, a previous generation would have been like, hey, don't worry about it, suck it up, get over it. That was previous generation.
Yep.
But our generation maybe has gone so far in another direction that it's like, oh, that's so bad, it's so terrible. And you're saying we need to feel it, but then we need to point them in the right direction and say, now let's be productive.
It's right. And I think it actually, so we don't take the blame. I think we should blame our parents.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Just like every generation before us has blamed their parents. But think about the evolution. I think you're right. I think it was dad was kind of not emotionally available, played this role that, I'm the disciplinarian. And this is very stereotypical here. Then it shifted a little bit to the participation generation, where maybe kids grew up in this world where dad wasn't available, dad wasn't around. Now dad's getting more involved and they're coaching, but like, hey, everybody needs a trophy. Everybody needs to be, acknowledged for their effort. And those generation grows up there, and now that generation is
self-esteem.
Yes, like that's right.
Telling you how great you are all the time.
That's right. And now that generation grew up there, our parents. And it's one step further. It's not only participation and everything's great and you're the best. It is, my job is to remove barriers for you, like physically remove barriers at times. And that is, there's a lot of like overstep. There's a lot of creep that's happening from a standpoint of what is the role and like what are we affording our child to walk through hard times, like that gift of challenge versus I'm with you. I empathize with you. I can't believe you're going through this, and I'm going to help you get through this.
Yeah, let me say, I think this generation, in a lot of ways, our generation of parents, like a slippery slope is to move into this area where we say feelings are facts.
Yes.
Like, because you feel that way, that means it's necessarily true. Instead of saying, okay, you feel that way, now let's channel it. Do you have an example of like when this has happened with your kids?
Yeah. And I would just want to put a finer point on that. Like you also hear this a lot with, that's my truth. And I'm not minimizing that, right? Like there's a lot of instances where that statement is very important and it's needs to be acknowledged. But it's not the rule.
If you have your truth,
yeah,
this is controversial here. You have your truth and I have my truth.
Right.
And those truths are opposite each other. They both can't be true.
They both can't be true, but they also don't have to be. It doesn't have to cause a rift between you and I because we see. So that's what's happened now. It's my truth is this. You have a different truth, which I can get with because we're two different people. The problem is culturally, we're so tribal that people's truths now, if you don't agree, like then they can't even be friends. They can't talk. It causes, we're unable to be adults essentially. Yeah. Right. So, I've had these situations with the kids throughout the years where things have happened and you truly have to resist the urge too, because you might be I might think factual on my side. Like Cam didn't make a baseball team. That was a hard one. I really thought he should have made that baseball team. And it was a tough situation for him to go through. It seems insignificant, but for a 9-year-old at the time, and all of his buddies made the team but him. And I had a conversation with the coach when I was communicated that because, I shared my thoughts, but that was as far as it went. I didn't do it because I was going to change the mind, but that's a situation. Many parents are like, so solve that.
Let's talk about response. So empathy versus compassion. So if you would have just been empathetic towards Cam in that situation, I don't think this is what you did. What would your response have looked like?
Yeah. So the empathetic response was certainly, you feel it with your child. You want to hear what they're going through. When empathy stays, when it never shifts to compassion, then it's a problem.
Yeah, or actually, because I just think I would have a tendency in that situation to be like, you got screwed, this isn't right. Yep. And there may be a point you live in that for a second. But if you just stay there, you create a mentality that your kid is a victim, life's, this is not right, the other person is a bad guy.
Correct. Here's what I'll maybe better said, like what we didn't do, okay? I have this, I don't know why I took the picture, it's kind of creepy, but I have a picture in the moment. He just broke down and was on the ground, and Brittany got down on her knees, and there's this beautiful picture of them hugging. And I don't know why I took the picture. I guess it's creepy, but I have it, and I can visualize it in my head, and I have a picture of it. So what we did do is love on him, make sure whatever he felt like he was allowed to feel. It wasn't why are you crying? Like you should have done better. It would feel it. This hurts. We see that you're upset. This is okay to feel this way, right? What we didn't do was ever say to him, I can't believe that coach made that decision. You should be on that team. Never once did we say that to him. Never did we say they made a bad choice. Never did we say you got screwed. Never did we try to make him feel like he was wronged, but we let him feel the pain. We shifted to, what do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about it? Do you want to keep playing baseball? Yes or no? Which was yes. Do you want to go back and play rec league? The answer was no. Do you want to go try to find another travel team? Yes. Okay, well, here's what that's going to entail. Like, you're going to have to be open. You might not have your position. You might be with all kids. Like, we worked through that with him and gave him options of different teams. He made a choice. But, there was never I'm calling coaches and this is what we're going to. It's like, look, here's other places we can try out. It's not guaranteed. You might have the same feeling and getting a call that says, hey, buddy, thanks for the tryout. You're not going to make the team. Are you okay with? So that was hard because I have relationships and I probably could have, but it's just not, that's not compassion. That's not being compassionate. That's overstepping and solving problems for my child that ultimately he's got to work through.
Yeah. So I guess I'm curious in that situation, when you move to action, what are the principles that I love your response to that? First of all, it's probably more emotionally regulated than mine would have been. Laura's probably better in our house at that. But what are the principles that you follow in other situations that work?
Well, I don't know about what I want the principles of how our response, what I want him to take from that.
What he's going to learn from it.
That's the biggest thing, is because that's where, we all want to protect our kids from hard times. Like this whole helicopter parent thing, it just keeps getting worse. I don't believe that moms and dads 40 years ago just had this desire to let kids go it's not a big deal. I want my kid to fail. I think everybody, but like we're just taking this generation as parents is taking way more action into it. I want my child to be able to see our response to build a couple things in him. I want our kids to go through hard things and see how we respond to help them through that, to know like they are not alone. Like we're going to be with you when you go through hard things, just like we are when we go through great things. You're not alone, but it's up to you. Like you're going to have to figure out your path. Like we will here to support you, but like we're not going to start your engine for you. We're not going to make this work for you. Like, but we're here. I want them to have the opportunity to build resilience. Like Anderson is born with red hair. Her grandmother has red hair. Her other grandmother has red hair. She was born with traits based on her family. I don't believe, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I don't think resilience is passed down. I don't think that's a trait that you get. I think it's a trait that you have to build. Maybe some people are more predisposed and there might be something there. But if I don't allow my kids to go hard times, they will not build the muscle to be resilient. And we are all going to get knocked down multiple times in life.
So you want them to be resilient and bounce back. We want to be able to solve problems.
Yep.
Like be a problem solver.
Be a
right?
problem solver.
Solution oriented. Not like sulking in the moment, but what do I do about it?
That's right. I mean, there's even some research that Harvard did that they kind of looked at this kind of helicopter parent thing, and they looked at a whole bunch of kids over the last 20 years. And one of the biggest things of the differences in kids that had a very overbearing parental situation versus ones that kind of had this approach like that we're talking about, like the number one difference is problem solving. The kids that did not have this, helicopter situation, like they had such a better time dealing with things, making decisions, solving problems for themselves, because it's not that surprising that you'd have a child that's having a very hard time when they become an adult making tough decisions, because they've literally always had their water wings or their floaties on in the water of toughness because their parents have been like a crutch for them. And that's a skill. We're not equipping them to do anything in life long term.
I know we have younger kids, but man, I think about that all the time. When we started Chick-fil-A Leader Academy, this program we do with high school students, one of the big key principles for us was giving students an outlet to fail and to move forward, because we found, just think about your average high school student. If you could take a class with a teacher that you learned nothing, but it's an easy A, or you could take a class with a teacher that was challenging and you learned something and you get a C, which class are you going to take?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We are encouraged to take the A.
Totally.
Your GPA matters. What we have found structurally in schools is there's very little outlets for kids to try things and fail, because the score of how they do affects what they can do next.
Absolutely.
So going back to this problem solving, as parents, as much as we want to feel these things with them, we do have to feel it, but we've got to use those as teaching moments, because I can guarantee you, real life, you're going to have to solve some problems.
Yes.
So resilience, problem solving, what's the other one?
Well, there's a bunch there. I think confidence, right? I think that's a big one. That's another thing that you're not necessarily born with. You have to, confidence comes from many different areas. It comes from, I think your parents play a huge role in that, how they speak to you, what they tell you, because ultimately confidence is a story that you tell yourself. But there's a lot of inputs throughout to help you build that story. So if you've never had the ability, so Camden's story he's telling himself now, because not only did he keep playing baseball, he found another team. And he's been on that team now he's about to start his 4th season. And he started towards the end of now he's batting second. He's had a great season last year. His pitching's improved. He gets to tell himself that story. That's one of the truths of his life. It's like, I got cut from this team. I found another team. I worked really hard. And now I love baseball and I'm doing really great.
I think what you're saying is spot on. There is a tension between humility and arrogance. I think confidence is the right way, but how do you balance those two? Because I've seen these kids that are confident. They appear confident, but they are not in touch with the reality.
Well, think about it this way, though. that's where parents can really have a nice role, is to kind of make sure that they're in their place.
Which, by the way, I would say is compassion, not just empathy.
That's exactly right.
Hey, bro, like, pull back a little bit.
Well, the other thing is, but let's just use Camden as the example with his baseball team. If I pulled strings or got him on another team and we didn't go through this and he didn't feel the feelings, or oftentimes what parents will do is they'll get the news the kid's not going to make the team. They've already worked it out. So by the time they break the news, hey, you didn't make the team, but great news, you're on a better team. They're wrong. So again,
work it out without them. Yeah.
If I told Camden, which let's say I did agree at the time, like, buddy, it was a bad decision on the coach. You're better than half those kids. That is going to breed the lack of humility and overconfidence versus going through a hard time, struggling, getting knocked down, having a humbling moment, and working your way back up. He got that gift because of how he handled it versus, buddy, these coaches know what they're talking about. You're better than half of them. You're going to get in a better situation. So then he's walking in after this situation with, how stupid were those coaches? Like, I'm going to, like, whatever, I don't need them. So that's where that's bred.
Yeah. Compassion teaches resilience, problem solving, and confidence.
Yeah.
And that confidence is not an arrogance.
That's right.
It's like a confident humility.
That's exactly right.
That it teaches. So how do we live this out with compassion? Let me give you a fun example. I want to hear this. So actually, I'm going to pull this up and read it to you.
Okay.
Luckily, my kids are still a little too young to have our podcast, so I can share this with you. This is an email that Laura and I got the other day of our first grader. Just want to let you know there's a situation at recess with your son. I won't say his name, so when he goes back and listens to this later, but it's our oldest son, and another boy getting frustrated with each other and using their hands on each other. The other boy slapped him, and your son responded by picking him up and throwing him to the ground.
Like it.
Now, you and my South Georgia wife really love this. She's like, great, we don't start fights, we finish them. I can't wait to get thrown out of school for this. So they talked about this. What are the actual steps? Because there's a funny side of like, yes,
of course,
I'm proud he did this. And then there's the other side of, okay, what led this in the first place? If we are going to respond with compassion, how do we do that?
Yep. And so this would be my response in that situation. Others, I think first and foremost, you need to listen fully.
So just ask questions of them.
Ask the questions and listen fully before responding. You don't need to jump to a conclusion. You're almost there already because of the way that was written. Like, hey, he got smacked first and he threw down, right?
But you need to listen.
But listen fully before you respond.
Okay.
In this situation, if he's angry because of that happened, you need to validate what he's feeling. Might be a situation where they're upset. It might be something that you, as a person that has, 40 years on this earth, hear and you're like, this is so stupid. But you got to validate because their feelings in that moment are their feelings. So listen fully, validate what they're saying. And then I think what you got to do from there is avoid trying to solve the problem.
So you've got to ask them questions. You've got to help them. Like a great coach, ask you questions to help you figure out that answer. You've got to lead them there without being super
That's exactly right.
What are those kind of questions?
Well, I mean, it depends on the situation, right? But I think they have to be open-ended questions, and you want to lead them to the situation. So in this instance, George didn't start it, but the second person always gets in trouble, right? And in the future, you don't want that to occur. So, like, I think you're going to start to ask some questions of, all right, tell me, what started this? How did it go? Like, how did you feel when he hit you?
What could you have done?
What could you have done when he hit you?
What's another way to respond?
Right? Like how, and I know that, you are a family that is faith is really important. Okay. What does the Bible tell us about when situations like that? There's a parable about turning the other cheek. Yeah, depends. Yeah. You can cherry pick which response. But I think, again, like what a lot of parents are going to do in that situation, I cannot believe that boy did that to you. You don't deserve that. Siding with them for throwing them down and taking action, letting the school know, hey, this is unacceptable. I would like my kids separated. This kid's a problem. This is what happens.
Yeah.
Camden, it's always Camden. Like he has an issue with this kid at school. And it's funny, like Brittany and this other kid's parents, they're awesome. Like they know the kids have issues and they're both like, we're saying the same thing. And we know that. Parents are like, I cannot believe these two are at it again. Like, it's my kid's fault. We're like, it's our kid's fault. Like, that's how it should be. Neither of us have called the school and say, these two, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying every situation's different.
Yeah.
There could be stuff you need to do that, but like, these kids have to figure it out.
I think this all goes back to your initial point about empathy versus compassion. What I learned in this situation is this is actually one of the kids George likes a lot. Like, they're buddies. They just got aggressive in a moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes parents can make it worse because our kids, they got in a fight, but they actually like each other. And we're like, no, that's not right. That kid's whatever. Compassion is feel it with them, move them to action. And when you can do that, you build those things that we talked about: resilience, problem solving, confidence. What's your kind of final takeaway of what is a practice we can put in place this week to move towards compassion?
Well, I think get really good at the art of conversation and questions with your kids. I think, again, one of the reasons we don't practice compassion and we just stay in empathy, in this empathetic mode, is we just kind of rush to making the decision and fixing things for our kids without really getting a deep understanding of what's going on. Where I would close this thing out is our goal is not to raise kids that don't go through hard stuff. The goal is not to, I got to make sure that, my job, what is success, is making sure my kid doesn't fail or fall down. Well, the goal that we have is that we raise kids that can get up when they fall down. We always talk, all right, buddy, bounce back. What's the bounce back? How powerful is the bounce back? And so you gotta help the kids build that. That's our goal as parents.
It's a good challenge to be emotionally available enough that we feel with them, but emotionally stable enough to direct them in a different direction instead of living in that.
Yeah.
So it's good. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Makers with Kevin Scott and Eric Blumenthal. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.